MiCA itself, I believe it's the first step of a long journey, as it usually happens with umbrella regulation. It is a first effort, although very comprehensive, but still with some gray areas, with a lot of area of improvements.
Hello and welcome to Public Key. This is your host, Ian Andrews. This episode is part of our Live from Links series. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be dropping double the Public Key goodness. That's right, new episodes 2 times a week. Interviews with the best speakers from the 2024 edition of the Chainalysis Links Conference. On this episode, I speak to Mico Curatolo. He's co-head of the DLT and digital assets team at Banca Sella, which is an established bank in Italy with a long history of innovation and adoption of cutting-edge technologies in the financial ecosystem. Mico discusses the bank's strategy around digital ledgers and digital assets, including their focus on launching a proprietary retail custody solution. He explains the regulatory landscape with the implementation of MiCA and shares insights on the appetite for digital assets across Italy, the impact of the Bitcoin ETFs, and the future of stablecoins and CBDCs in Europe. Last thing before we dive into the episode, if you weren't able to attend the Chainalysis Links Conference in New York, well, you missed a fantastic event. But not to worry, the Links digital experience is now available on demand. As an attendee, you'll get to see the best content from the in-person conference, plus some special digital-only content. Whether you're in the Americas, EMEA, or Asia Pacific, you'll have the opportunity to live chat with compliance, investigation, and business strategy experts, while receiving an exclusive hands-on view into our latest features. You can register now by clicking on the link in the show notes. Hi everyone, we're back with another episode of Public Key, live from Links. I'm your host, Ian Andrews. On this episode, I'm joined by Mico Curatolo, who's co-head of DLT and digital assets at Banca Sella. Mico.
Thank you for having me here. Pleasure.
Thank you for traveling all the way from Milan, Italy to join us at Links. It's amazing to have you.
It's also exciting to be in New York City, so I'm super happy.
It is the financial capital of the world, so I imagine many of our listeners, we have people that enjoy the podcast all around the world, but I would imagine many of them, this might be the first time they're hearing about Banca Sella. So maybe we can start with just a little background on the business. Who do you work with? What's the focus of the company? And then we'll get into why you're here at this crypto conference.
So Banca Sella is almost an 140 years old bank. So quite an established player in the Italian market. It has a long-lasting history of innovation and it always had been at the forefront of cutting-edge technologies related to the financial ecosystem. Just to give you a bit more of background, it is a medium-sized bank, the largest private-owned bank active in Italy, still preserving the name of the family that is behind the group. And it was one of the first ATM cash machine in Italy, one of the first internet banking solution in Italy, at the forefront of open banking and open finance revolution after PSD2 coming into force in Europe. So always played a major role in understanding where the innovation was in the banking ecosystem. The group itself is made up of more than 20 companies. Obviously, Banca Sella is the major one, but it covers a large spectrum of activities, retail banking, corporate investment banking, technology solutions for the financial ecosystem, and so on.
It's amazing to hear that story of enduring innovation because most companies, as they get old, they get very conservative. They protect the business they have, and it gets very hard to look to the future, and particularly to adopt new technology. And yet, your title is co-head of DLT and digital assets. So what's the strategy around DLT and digital assets?
So first of all, the footprint of the group started before the competence centers with our challenger bank Hype that has more than 1.5 million customers in the market. We launched the first crypto wallet with Bitcoin in, and it was some years ago already.
Wow.
And we're also supporting clients that had direct exposure to digital assets back in the last 10 years. Moreover, we're also serving, I would say, the vast majority of the virtual asset service provider in Italy with the banking as a service solutions. And understanding the market dynamics led us to the creation of this competence center that is actually a cross-functional team made up of tech people, business people, and people from the control functions working together. We designed a strategy for the whole group, so not only for Banca Sella. And we will get our first milestone in the next 3 years since our strategic plan just started. We are covering a large spectrum of activities. So we start from pure R&D activities to frame the opportunity, producing feasibility studies. We directly take care of all the learning activities related to digital assets inside the group. And we are also building new services and products for clients. So we also got end-to-end until the go-to-market activities.
Amazing. You mentioned that you're banking most of the virtual asset service providers in Italy. In the US, we had a bit of a banking crisis last year, and the banks that were crypto or digital asset friendly, a number of them no longer exist. What's been your experience through Crypto Winter servicing that type of business?
So first of all, the due diligence you need to do for each player requesting banking services is very high.
Yeah.
Banca Sella has a long-lasting history of capability and expertise on these, both on the onboarding side of the funnel and ongoing activities. Obviously, it is not always a seamless journey, so it sometimes happened that we had to close the relationship with this player. But I believe that is a good space to mutually understand each other so that the VASP can maybe raise their level of attention for what regards transactions and clients, and the bank can benefit of this relationship for a better understanding of market dynamics.
Yeah. What's the appetite for digital assets in Italy like right now, both at a retail and an institutional level?
From a customer adoption point of view, Italy is quite an active market.
Okay.
We are talking about millions of people that are directly exposed to digital assets and that they actually hold. I would say the majority of business customers are still waiting for the market to evolve in order to get to a massive adoption. But still, in the last few years, we saw some businesses starting considering having treasury management through digital assets or also issuing NFTs or digital twins. So
yeah.
I think that we will see many more players getting into the market soon.
Yeah.
From a regulatory standpoint, regulator in Italy, Banca d'Italia, it always been very conservative toward crypto. And obviously with MiCA coming into force in the next few months, we expect boundaries to open a bit.
Okay.
Frankly speaking, we are working a lot with the regulator to understand how we can mitigate the risks and how we can maybe leverage on the same set of tools in order to better understand how to protect clients and scale solutions.
Yeah, exciting. You mentioned that you're building some end-to-end DLT solutions for customers. Can you be more specific about one or two of those projects?
We are mainly covering a few topics right now. The first one is the custody.
Okay.
We would love to get to the market soon with a proprietary custody solution, starting from a retail base.
Okay.
And with a very reduced number of assets as a starting point. This mainly because what is very interesting to understand is that together with the technological effort required to build up a custody solution, the main effort required from banks right now is to properly equip the organization to later perform all the controls related to the custody of digital assets. And this is the situation we are right now. So we are putting an amazing effort in educational activities inside the group, across all the areas of the group. So not only business, but also tech and control functions. And we are also hiring new talented people to complete our skill set.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear that you're building out custody, and that's for your retail customers?
We will start from a retail custody, and we will probably focus as a starting point to high net worth individual customer base.
Yeah.
But we expect then to scale the value-added services and the custody itself to our targets of clients.
Yeah. How do you think about the business strategy there, since you're also banking virtual asset service providers, to introduce your own custody solution? Does that set you up as a competitor to some of your customers today?
I don't think so. I think that in the medium term, what institutional player will bring to the market is a completely different set of value-added services. So I see that in the medium term, exchanges will do the exchanges and custodian will do the custodian, and there will be like a common ground of services that the parties can share. But for example, when it comes to consider what happens when you pass away, what happens of your assets when you pass away, or how to produce tax reports, these are kind of services that I see are more close to the classic relationship that a client has with his banking provider.
Sure. And you actually bring up a great point, that separation of the custodian responsibility from the exchange responsibility is kind of a natural thing in traditional finance, in the equities markets, for example. In crypto, we've kind of unnaturally combined these, and it's led to some disastrous results when some of the exchanges have gone bankrupt the last few years, right? Massive client losses.
I think that these might have happened because of a lack of the regulation, and a lack of the regulation in many geography prevented the entrance of institutional player into the market. So it was strange, but I wouldn't bet this will last the same in the next few years.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, I think it creates a great market opportunity for you. I'm curious about other things beyond custody. One of the hot topics here in the United States the last few months has been the Bitcoin ETF products, which have drawn in billions in dollars of capital in a very short period of time. Our CEO showed a chart opening the conference yesterday about the pace of assets under management into the Bitcoin ETFs relative to gold, which launched a few decades ago. How do you think about that experience happening here in the US, and what does it mean for your business in Italy?
Obviously, it is impressive to understand. Yesterday, I was listening to the panel, and when the BlackRock professional tells the audience this is the most successful ETF ever, this is something impressive for sure.
Quick interruption here to talk about the BlackRock main stage discussion that Mico just mentioned. My colleague, Sari Granite, had the opportunity to congratulate Samara Cohen, who's Chief Investment Officer of ETF and Index Investments at BlackRock, along with Caroline Butler from BNY Mellon and Brett Tejpaul of Coinbase, for having the most successful ETF launch in history with the BlackRock Bitcoin Spot ETF offering. Samara explains the journey of Bitcoin ETFs from her appearance on the Chainalysis Link stage 2 years ago, and highlights some inspirational quotes from Michael Groninger's presentation. Let's listen to Sari and Samara.
Michael referred to in his opening, the most successful of those was BlackRock's. It was actually said to be the most successful launch of an ETF ever in the history. And so congratulations to all of you who were involved in the launch. Maybe I'll just start off with you, Samara. Tell us a little bit about when BlackRock started thinking about Bitcoin ETF, why, how.
Sure, and thank you. It is super exciting to be back here at Lynx. I was here 2 years ago. Since then, I think, looking at my partners on either side of me, a big part of it has been the work we've been able to progress together. And it's actually awesome thinking about how Bitcoin ETFs really provide what we think of as a scalable bridge from traditional finance to crypto. It was really bringing together the pieces and being able to progress what was really an important integrated moment for cryptocurrency and traditional finance. I think in his opening remarks, Michael was spot on about that myth of finance looking like crypto versus crypto looking like finance, because that is what has happened. And I think that's a really good outcome for investors, because we knew institutions were interested in Bitcoin. We were increasingly hearing, particularly from model advisors, that they were hearing from their end investors that they wanted ways to incorporate Bitcoin in their portfolios. And it was quite hard for them to get a whole portfolio assessment and perspective when they kind of had to look in two different systems and two different ecosystems. So the desire from end investors to be able to view their risk and view their investment allocations in a holistic, whole portfolio way was really strongly expressed to us in a number of ways across those 2 years.
Well, it's safe to say that the launch of the Bitcoin spot ETFs didn't happen overnight. It's also interesting to hear about the pent-up demand by investors and the bridge Bitcoin ETFs provide from traditional assets to digital assets. Now let's get back to Mico and his discussion of what he believes the short and medium-term impact of ETFs will be on the crypto industry in the European Union and abroad. Yeah.
And I believe that it is going to be, not only in the short term, but in the medium term, a good news for the industry worldwide, bringing some security and bringing more clients and maybe different clients to the market. This is affecting also the European market. Clients in Banca Sella may find these kind of products, electronic traded funds with crypto collateral, since quite a while, but we are not directly giving consultancy around that. Obviously, we don't have also a strong heritage on pure investments, so we believe we are not the most exposed players to this kind of products. It is interesting to understand if the ETF listing it is still reducing spaces for institutional player getting in, or if in the medium term this will play a progressive role, maybe convincing some other banks to enter the space, maybe partnering with asset managers. And
yeah,
we're gonna see.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting next few months to see how it affects the space. But like you said, the comments from the guests from BlackRock were very clear that every institution is now trying to formulate some sort of a digital asset strategy. One of the other big topics at the conference has been stablecoins. And I think the current stablecoin market capitalization is now about 150 billion US dollars, most of it in Tether and USDC, the Circle product, and nearly all of it dollar denominated. You mentioned the MiCA regulations coming into effect shortly in the European market, and to the credit of the European Union, sort of first to market with kind of comprehensive digital asset regulation. It creates an interesting situation where, as I read it, potentially all those US dollar denominated stablecoins are going to need to be delisted from European exchanges. I'm curious if you've spent any time thinking about this and how you expect the market to play out.
We are very carefully looking at the market dynamics.
Yeah.
I need to confirm you that we see that threats coming.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting understanding how USDC and USDT may get out of this situation.
Yeah.
I would say that we will probably see more euro-backed token getting to the market.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me it is easier for that player to list another token rather than to move the reserves elsewhere or to block them.
Yep.
And this might also give an additional opportunities to financial institutions across Europe that might be interested in jumping in the stablecoin markets, maybe listing their own, or furthermore going for a systemic approach and maybe listing a stablecoin that is backed by different financial institutions across Europe.
Is there anything you want to announce right now? Is there
No.
No, Banca Sella coin coming?
We studied a lot the possibility of launching an e-money token. Theoretically speaking, we also deep dived a lot on what kind of measure you could put in to act in a kind of closed loop in which you always know where the money token is, who is holding it, if it's related to blacklisted wallet, for example,
Sure.
or bad activities. And I believe it is super interesting for financial institutions all across Europe, but not only, to study it because there's a huge opportunity there. Nevertheless, for what is around your question. My perception now, it is very hard for a financial institution that is not systemic or very, very big to issue a stablecoin alone. It might be more interesting to take into consideration in the short term to maybe partner with other banks and go for a systemic approach, and we're gonna see if something happening.
What is your opinion on CBDCs? I know there's a number of projects kind of outside the EU boundary in Northern Europe, like Norway, I think is maybe the most progressed that I've heard about. The EU also has a project that I think is emerging, I'll politely call it. Do you think there's any utility in a CBDC?
So first of all, I think that a digital asset team shall pay a lot of attention to what is going on around CBDCs. That's why our competence centers is also directly exposed to the work that the ECB is doing. It is still unclear what the final design of the digital euro will be, so it is hard for me to understand 100% what are the implications and also answering your question. But I believe that the main point for the ECB right now is around monetary sovereignty rather than other uses. Therefore, I'm 100% convinced that they will not abort the project. The digital euro will see the light. Some more years of work are required, and also deeper understanding of the needs of the market players, because still it's unclear what's the role of commercial banks with the digital euro coming. But I don't see an overlap with stable coins. It will be another thing, another tool with another usage, and we're gonna see. See.
Some of the projects seem to be more focused on wholesale side of banking, so the central bank to the banks themselves rather than retail, where you or I as individuals could actually hold the asset directly. I know the Norway project actually is intending to be a retail-facing token because it seems like they're trying to disrupt some of the payments monopoly that currently exists in that country. But I could imagine if it were a retail-facing project from the ECB, like that could disrupt the current incumbent banking system quite a bit.
Absolutely, and that's why the remuneration model towards the private sector is super important. And I believe in a short while we will see all financial institutions asking for clarification on that. I believe that digital euro will cover that part on P2P retail payments as a new circuit, let's say. And also I see some effort on covering use cases on the wholesale side. Still there is some space for businesses solution and interbanking activities that might be covered by private use case.
Yeah. When you start to think to the future, MiCA coming into force, it seems like broader support for digital assets, an endorsement of legitimacy maybe. What's your expectation for the landscape across Europe when it comes to digital assets?
This can sound surprising, but I believe that providing to the market a comprehensive framework will play a progressive role for the industry. And I believe many more players that were maybe waiting for something to happen will start now experimenting more, entering the market more, and understanding how to deal with this new framework. MiCA itself, I believe it's the first step of a long journey, let's say, as it usually happens with umbrella regulation. It is a first effort, very comprehensive, although very comprehensive, but still with some gray areas, with a lot of area of improvements. And I believe that a good team efforts in between regulators, market players, financial institutions, tech companies, scale-ups, together dealing with this new regulation will also help European Union to further improve it. And I believe this is also like putting Europe on the spot. With this new framework, for sure we can gain traction. And I was listening to a lot of contents in links these 2 days, and I believe a lot of market players understand that a lack of regulation like the one that you have in the United States right now is not a good news for the market, and it's preventing a lot of players to directly get in.
Yeah. My customary closing question. When you think about the year ahead, what gets you most excited? Either the crypto industry specifically or things that you're working on at Sella?
Sella gave me the amazing opportunity of dealing with a lot of cutting edge technologies in the last 6 years that I've spent in the group. And I've learned not to get in love with the single technology.
Smart.
So I'm not excited for what blockchain and DLTs can bring to the banking ecosystem, but I'm more excited to see how working on the same technology will bring together different market players, maybe getting to new solution, but mainly getting to a better protection of clients, and we're gonna see a big growth of these if everybody will work together in the same direction.
Fantastic. I love that vision. Thanks so much for joining us on Public Key.
It was such a pleasure.
Hey there. Thanks for listening to another episode. If you enjoyed what you heard today, do me a favor. Open up your podcast app, rate the show. Give us a review. Tell us what you liked. Even better, you can share the podcast with your friends. And of course, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. With the global market capitalization exceeding $2 trillion, regulation increasing worldwide, and adoption growing each year, cryptocurrency is clearly here to stay. But what does this mean for law enforcement? Well, much like normal money, crypto is increasingly being used in connection with scams, ransomware, money laundering, child exploitation, terrorist financing, sanctions evasion, and darknet market commerce. All the bad things. In 2023, our estimates say $24.2 billion of total crypto transaction volume was likely tied to illicit activity. While this is a large figure, without context, it doesn't quantify the human toll of crypto-related crimes such as pig butchering, which has a significant crypto nexus. Some of our recent blog posts highlight these illicit activities and how law enforcement agencies on both large and small scales have managed to investigate and resolve some crypto-related crime. You can head down to the links in the show notes to read the full blog and download your Crypto Investigations Guide, which covers blockchain intelligence for law enforcement.